What is up, YouTube? It is day 19 of Advent of Code. We've only got 7 days left. Apologies, I normally set up all the streams like 2 days before they even start, and I think this week I just assumed I'd already done it, so there there wasn't a video or a stream or a link or anything. So I'm not sure if anyone's even seeing this now. But I've updated all the links. Should be okay. My apologies. So it might be a bit more frantic, and apologies I've eaten the first 5 minutes of our time. But otherwise, let's just get on with it, yeah? So this is Advent of Code. I'm just going to send some links in the chat. So today we're doing day 19 of Advent of Code. This is some really hard problems programming wise, but if anyone's in the chat and wants me to sort of really slow down and talk about what is a variable, what's JavaScript, that kind of stuff, that's what this is for. So I'm totally available to do that. If nobody shows up, I'll just try and do the challenge. I'll try and vocalize it, but it might be a bit more boring. There are 18 other videos in this series where I do have other people online, so feel free to pop into some of those. This site here I'm using is called REPL.it. That's got basically the ability to sort of write code in your browser. It's not really ideal, but it's a really good way to just start coding if you've never programmed before, you don't know what you're looking for. So if you want to write JavaScript, you're looking for this sort of Node.js JavaScript logo when you are creating a REPL. And what that does is it just lets you sort of type JavaScript directly into this sort of terminal over here. So you can do things and it will REPL. So it will read that 2 plus 2. It will evaluate what 2 plus 2 means in JavaScript. It'll print any outcomes there are, which in this case is the evaluation of 2 plus 2, which is 4. And then the L just stands for loop. So it'll just keep doing it over and over again. So we can just keep asking 2 plus 2, 2 plus 3, whatever we want. And in effect, that's sort of what programming is. We sort of write big lines of code and we put them through some sort of system like this that just evaluates those lines either one line at a time, or it will compile the entire file into something else which it might evaluate one character at a time. Generally, we don't need to worry about this, but just on the right-hand side, this is a nice space to sort of try and fix any bugs our code has. Over here, we have an actual JavaScript file. So whatever we write here will run when we press play. So if I do console.log 2 plus 2, 2 plus 3, apparently, we will get that 5 over there. So this is just a separation between sort of inputs and outputs and files, because if we did write any code over here, we would lose it as soon as that session was over, whereas this file is more permanent. I've kept a little snippet in here, which is a bit complicated, and I'm not going to explain what it does, well, how it works, but what it does is it'll just read in lines from this file into an array, which also we haven't defined yet, into a variable called input, which holds an array. So now in input, I have those items 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll see why this is useful when we go through the actual challenge. But I think that's everything. I've linked both REPLs, I've linked the challenge, so let's get started. I timeboxed these for about an hour, so we should be done in like 50 minutes latest, unless the problem is really easy. They haven't been easy for the last sort of 7 weeks, so I'm not expecting this one to be much different, but let's see what we get. Okay, day 19, beacon scanner. As your probe drifted down through this area, it released an assortment of beacons and scanners into the water. It's difficult to navigate in the pitch-black open waters of the open trench, but if you can build a map of the trench using data from the scanners, you should be able to safely reach the bottom. The beacons and scanners float motionless in the water. They're designed to maintain the same position for long periods of time. Each scanner is capable of detecting all beacons in a large cube centered on the scanner. Beacons that are at most 1,000 units away from the scanner in each of the 3 axes X, Y, and Z have their precise position determined relative to the scanner. However, scanners cannot detect other scanners. The submarine has automatically summarized the relative position of beacons detected by each scanner. Your puzzle input. So if we have a look at the puzzle input, changes for each person. So my answer won't be your answer, but my code should answer your puzzle input. So here's my input. So we've got just the output of a bunch of scanners. I guess their relative beacon positions as well. Okay. So for example, if a scanner is at XYZ coordinates 500, 0, minus 500, and there are beacons at minus 500, 1000, minus 1500, and 1501, 0, minus 500, the scanner could report that the first beacon is at minus 1000 because 500 is away, plus 1000 from there, and minus 1000 from there relative to the scanner, but it would not detect that second beacon at all because it's over 1000 units away in the x-axis. Unfortunately, while each scanner can report the positions of all detected beacons relative to itself, the scanners do not know their own position. You'll need to determine the position of the beacons and scanners yourself. The scanners and beacons map a single contiguous 3D region. Oh my god. This region can be reconstructed by finding pairs of scanners that have overlapping detection regions, such that there are at least 12 beacons that both scanners detect within the overlap. What does that mean? Finding pairs of scanners that have overlapping regions. By establishing 12 common beacons, you can precisely determine where the scanners are relative to each other, allowing you to reconstruct the beacon map one scanner at a time. What does that mean? This feels like it's a really important paragraph and I have no idea what it's talking about. Contiguous. Sharing a common border. Okay. This region can be reconstructed by finding pairs of scanners that have overlapping detection regions. And there are 12 beacons that both scanners detect. So I guess I'm trying to figure out if this, let's say we've got, where is it? This and this. So say we've got like beacons, scanners. So a scanner can be deployed here and it would find a sort of cube around it. So we could end up with something like this, for example. Even those are all supposed to be the same size. And we're sort of looking for these beacons in overlapping situations. If there was just one, we would have no way of sort of identifying which one was in the same region, right? So I'm guessing there probably need to be a few in this overlapping region, and we can sort of figure out where all those beacons are relative to each other. Now it says the overlapping detection regions have at least 12 beacons that both scanners detect within the overlap. So I'm trying to figure out if that means there are 12 in these sections total. So we have like a completely continuous region all the way around, something like this. And are there 12 of these? Or is it trying to tell me that there's 12 in each overlap, which doesn't seem right. So I'm guessing we're looking for a total of 12, and there'll be loads of beacons, loads of scanners that will be completely isolated or will form new loops. So we're looking for like a continuous sort of shape that has 12 of these connections. That's what I'm thinking it's asking there. So for a moment, consider only 2 dimensions and suppose we have the following scanner reports. So I'm going to take this as my first puzzle input, just because it's, you know, if my code can work for this in 2 dimensions, we might be able to easily modify it to work in 3 dimensions. So we've got scanner 0, 0, 2, 4, 1, 3, 3, drawing X increasing rightwards, Y increasing upwards, scanners as S and beacons as B, scanner 0 detects this, right? So we can, I think we should start just by trying to get these visualizations. So let's get started with that. So as I said, we've already got an input object. It's a bit useless because it's basically just a text file. So what we need to do is split on scanners. How am I going to do that? I guess to start with, I could just split on the empty lines because it seems like I'm going to be given empty lines between my scanners. So that's a good starting point. So I can do, I'll write a quick function that's called get scan data. And that's going to take my input as a parameter. And in here, for now, I'm just going to split that data. So can I do return input.split. I'll just do it on the empty line. I don't think this is going to work. I think I might have to iterate over it as a list. This would probably work if it was all a string still. So maybe I need to split here. I was already reading them in. I'll try it. I don't think it'll work, but I'll try it. Get scan data input. So what I'm doing there is I've defined a function called get scan data, and I'm calling that function with input as my parameter. Input being that nice list we saw earlier. The function also has input as a parameter, and that's basically assigning that input to our input that we already have. So we could put anything in here if we want. We could put 2 + 2. It might break the function, but it would still be called input within this function, whereas this wouldn't be referenced anymore. Yep, split is not a function. So how can I split on an array in JavaScript? Split an array using splice. That's pretty weird. That's not really what I want either though, is it? Temp array, splice, chunk. And it's splitting on 2s, but I don't want to split on 2. I want to split on each empty string I find. Maybe I'll just write it from scratch. So let's do input dot for each line. So in here I can do something for each line that I've written. So again, similar function, I'm saying for each line in that input. I've called it line, but I could call it X if I want to. Just log out that line. So we should now see a visualization of that file. Well, just exactly the text file that we were expecting. Next, I'm going to be looking for that empty line. So this is our first if statement. So I can say if line equals, so I have to use multiple. If I use one equals, that's called an assignment in JavaScript. So like here, we've got this variable is being assigned this library, or this input is being assigned the output of whatever these functions are. If we use multiple equals, we get sort of is equivalent to a sort of a logical comparison instead of an assignment. And if it's equal to that, then I will do console.log hello. So we should only see one of these, and we do. We see it just after that empty line, so that's good. So this is the point we need to split our array. So we could just build up our array instead. So let's do, I guess we can use what they call, so we say var chunk equals an empty list or an empty array. So what I'm doing, using this var keyword to define a variable. This is the name for my variable, and this is what the variable is being initialized to. So I could do something like var my age equals 27, and we'd have access to that variable. We could increment it, decrement it, do all sorts of stuff. So what I'm going to do is, if line is not found, then I'm going to add things to this chunk. So chunk dot push line. And I won't be able to see my chunks actually. Not that I want to. In here, let's return chunk. That needs to be outside that. Chunk is not defined. I'm also going to define a new array here, new array here, and I'm going to fill this up with chunks basically. So instead of this, what I probably want is something like this, probably 3 close brackets. That's what I'm looking for the first one. It's complaining though that that's not valid, but we'll see. Wow, this is hard already. So I don't want to return that, I want to return that. At the end of each input, I want to do new array.push chunk. And then, well, it's not called chunk, but I don't think I stored it anywhere. So I'm just going to do array this. Now I should be able to access it. And there we go, we've got a new array, though it has pushed in that new line when it shouldn't. So if it's that, oh, that's weird. So it's not pushing anything into the, oh no, is it? What's it doing? Chunk.push. I'm pushing this every time when I should only be pushing that when I'm in the new line. New array. Oh. Okay. So while I'm in here, my chunk is empty, which is what that looks like. It's finding this once, which it shouldn't be doing it once. It needs to do it at the end of the file as well. So that's why we've only got one. If it's not a new line, it should be building up chunk. So I'm going to do console log chunk in here. Yeah, so it is chunking. Let's do console.log new array in here. So yeah, new array isn't really building up as we think it is. But it's the chunk push line that isn't doing anything. Pushing line. So it says it's pushing a line every time. I guess it's probably pushing this as a string. No, that should be fine. And it's definitely in here, so our chunks are filling up. I think if I log out the chunk here, oops, what's it going to be? So our chunk is just one element when it should be building up an element. So why is that being reset each time? Hey, thanks, Thomas. To if line, new array push. Ah, you mean, so instead of having this checking if it's full, just do that. And then if the line exists, it'll be fine. So you don't actually need that check. I think that means I need to inverse everything though, right? So if the line exists, then I want to push the line. If the line doesn't exist, then I want to break the chunk off. So same issue, but better if statement, thank you. So something is happening here, like this line of chunk should be pushing new things in each time. So it's like it's being reset every time. Oh. Which is why that's happening. There we go. That was weird. So my chunks do need to be reset, but only after I push the chunk in. So in here I'm resetting that chunk. So I should only have one line of scanners at a time. Oh, that's very weird. New array. Okay. So I've got my first item. It's now not chunking because there's no new line at the end of the file. So when I do finally finish the for each, I also need to do another push. push remaining chunk, new array, and there we go. So we've got an array with 2 items that are arrays of the strings within them. So we can get rid of loads of these console logs and tidy up a little bit. That up there. And get rid of that. My new array is now very hard to read. We don't actually need to push these scanner lines in, since the index in this list is enough to identify the scanner. So, can I do like line 0? Yes. So I'm going to do instead, I'm going to do if line 0 is not equal to that scanner line, then push to the chunk. Otherwise, which means that if it was the scanner line, it would also push the chunk, so that's not great either. So I can do another if, else if I guess I'll do there's a simplification here that I think Tanis is going to spot pretty quick, but I think that might give me the logic I want. Oh no, I've lost one. If it's not that, if it's not a scanner line, push this line, which looks good. Let me try it like that. I don't think that's right, but oh. Right, I need to think about it again, one sec. I changed too many things at once. Right, so we've got these. I guess, yeah, it's probably, if I got the YouTube video open. Apologies for the lag. I don't think there's anything I can do though, sadly. It does say my connection's quite low. Oh yeah, it's dropping loads of frames. I don't think there's anything I can do midstream about it though. Maybe if you go back a couple of seconds, Tamas, then you can watch it in real time. Well, not real time, but it won't lag as much, hopefully. Well, I could just iterate over them all again and just drop their first one, but that seems silly. If line, let's just do another one in here. If line 0 is not equal to a hyphen, then we'll push the line. Feels a bit messy. I'm sure there's something more clever I could do than that. Oh. So I did refactor it right before. I don't think I can stop the stream midway, but I'll figure it out for next week. Okay, so why are we getting an empty second array now? Just through the addition of this if statement. I've just realized why. Because these ones will start with a negative number, so I can't check for I guess I can just check if the second one is a negative. There we go. Okay, well that kind of works. Let's see if that bites me later. But I think we're good there. So our function is working fine. Just get that so it's logging every time. And I'll just see. Right, so next thing we need to do is just see if we can visualize it as we were visualizing it then. Like the example gives us here. And then maybe that shape can help us. We can map those shapes on top of each other somehow. I guess we can multiply. It seems kind of weird. I guess you could sort of pivot over all your, oh, you don't know your scanner positions. You could like overlay the maps on each other. So overlay like this beacon over this beacon, multiply them and see if the number of beacons is some union of them, I suppose. Seems weird. Okay. Yes, I'll have a little look at this. Sorry, I'm just looking at the YouTube screen because it's saying it's not streaming well. So maybe I'll get this print working and then maybe I'll just leave it there and give me some time to actually fix it. So let's say const print scan. I can take a scan object and we're gonna iterate over that scan. So let's say scan dot we probably need to get the maximum values in each dimension, I suppose. So max x equals scan dot map chord dot split comma 0. So that should get the first item in each one. Log max x, and we can pass that just our first scan. Print scan new array 0. Okay, so that's just getting that. We need the maximum of that array. So is that map.max? Oh, because they're all strings. So this needs to be an integer. Bit of a mess this, huh? Oh, it should be giving me 4, but it's giving me nothing. Is math.max not what I think it is? List. Math.max needs the spread operator. Wow, that's a heck of a line of code just to get a max number. Thank you, JavaScript. Let's see if we can do better. I'm gonna just put some brackets here so we can put it on its own line. What's that? An extra bracket. Extra bracket. Let's take that console log out. There should be something here. No? That should be there. No, that's fine. Where does this bracket go? Oh, there should be one there, but there should also be one there. Right. That looks kind of weird. Is that clear what that's doing? I don't think so. Map.max of the whole thing mapped over past the integers. We've got our max number. Feels like we should just extract that into a function as well. Get max from array. Oops. Array. Next line, and let's just return this. Return that. It needs a position as well. It can be our x or y. So when we call it here, we can just say get max from array scan and 0. And then we can also do max y just by doing this and scan 1. Scan is our array, so that's array, and then I've accidentally redefined this, and it's also not a variable for some reason. Let's put some console logs in. Console log max array, console.log xy. Oh. Why is it not a number? Spread the array. Put all that on one line again just to make sure it's all good. Open, 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 open. Yeah. What have I done to lose that? Max x is spelled correctly. I'm returning it. The position is not being used, but that shouldn't really matter. Right, let's do it again. Return array. Let's do that. So we're getting the full array. They're two different arrays. What's happening now? Is that from... Is that my max x and max y? They should be different. Why are they both the same array? Because the scan is always the first one, which is fine. That's good. Right, so instead of that, I should be returning the map of the coordinates. So let's just take that bit. Don't need the spread operator. Oh, that should just give me each one, but it doesn't. Does it work with 0? No. So it's not that bit. I think I must have messed this up when I was writing this line. So let's do array.map. Call it array.map. We have a coordinate pair. And for each coordinate pair, I just want the coordinate in the first position. So splitting on that, and I want 0. 0, 4, 3, good. They need to all be strings, which is why I wrapped all this in a parse int. Put an extra bracket there. Now they're all numbers. You can see because there's no quotes on them. And then I need the maximum number there. Maybe I just store this in a variable. Var coord. Oh. Let's call this chords equals that, and then let's return math.max chords. That's kind of a bad name too. No idea what I changed there. I must have messed something up in the refactoring. That shouldn't be 0. That should be position. There we go. We've got 4 and 3, and in our array, in the first one, we can see that x4 is our largest, and in y3 is our largest. So that's looking good. Why did I want that? Because I want to build an array that I'm going to iterate over. They said that. So now in here I should be able to say for let x equals 0. X is less than or equal to max x, x plus plus. I need like a printing string. Line equals empty line plus equals a dot, and at the end of each of those for loops, well, at the end of that I need to print the line, so console.log line. So there we go, we've got a row. It's wrong because it shouldn't be equals to, so it should only be 4 long. That's fine. Then inside each of those I need the same thing. In fact, I probably need outside of that the same thing, but for y. The console log of the line should be inside the while loop. And this time I need y, max y, and y increment. Okay, I didn't reset my line, so this needs to come every time I log out a line as well. There we go, so now we've got our grid. I think our grid is upside down because we're going from 0 upwards, but our line logging will go the other way. So we kind of need to start at max y and count down until this is less than 0, no, equal to 0, and then count down, so we should still get 3. Oh. Y is max y, so y is 3. If y is equal to 0, I think is what I've done there, so I want if y is less than 1, then it should stop. No? Oh, if y is greater than 1, it should be running, right? That's what I meant. Got it backwards. There we go. Okay, so now I think I need, instead of a line, I need to say if. That's a bit, it's not great. I guess I could be making an array now instead, and then repopulating that array. But for now, I'm just gonna, I don't know. I guess I could see if this item is in my scan. So I've got my scan here. Let's log that out. It's pretty lame. So we've got that scan. So I could be checking, you know, if x is, if x is equal to scan. No, this is rubbish. I kind of need a, no, I need like an array. So instead of this, okay. This is annoying. I need this print function, but I kind of, if I have the array, then I could just count over this list and repopulate the array. So I'm going to do that instead. So let's let line be this. I'm going to do line.push a dot, and then let's do let map also equal a list, and then in here I can do map.push line, and then I need to clear the line, so I need to set it back to this. Do I return that? No, so I should be returning the map. And so now I've got to store my map in my var new map equals the print scan, which doesn't really make sense. Okay, but there's my map. So let's rename that. Let's call that like build map. Build map. Don't need these anymore. Let's keep the scan actually. It's not called print scan, it's called build map. And then I can do, now I can have a print function, so const print map equals map for map dot for each line console.log line. Then I can call print map with my new map, print map new map, and there's our map. So all I need to do is push these numbers into here. How do I know the scanner position? We don't know our scanner position, I suppose. So let's do, in the building of our map, let's say scan.forEach chord x equals chord dot split 0, y equals chord dot split 1, oops, chord dot split comma and 1. So that will split on the comma and get the first and the second character before and after the comma. Why did I do that? Because I'm going to replace these values in my list. So I'm going to go map x, y equals beacon. Cannot set property 1 of undefined. Cannot set. These aren't variables. No, what's it doing? Line 50, it says it doesn't like this, so I can't update the items in the list. So I've got map is not defined, it's called new map. No? Let's get rid of that line for now. So if I got new map, can I do new map 0? Give me the first line. 0 is 0, should give me the first item, which is a dot. I guess, can I not overwrite that with something else? Nope, I just did it. So what is this complaining about? Am I out of bounds, perhaps? This 4 would be x. So I guess for 0, 2 should be 0 the first column, which I saw was fine, but 4, 1 would probably break it because there are only 4 things there. Yes, okay, cool. Yes, okay, that makes sense. So, have I made a mistake? Yes, because if there's 4, it should be 5, because there's 0 index, which I didn't realize before. So these should all be one higher than they are. Oops, not there. So it should be like, oops, it should be like this. So they should be a bit bigger than they realize they are, than I realize they are. What am I talking about? Okay, so now we've got 4 rows, which is what we got there, 5 columns. It's complaining again about my new maps. New map 0, 1, which is fine. 4, 1. Oh, cannot read property 4. So my map isn't big enough, but it should be, especially if it's logging like this. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it should be grabbing this last one. I'm just going to put -1 in everywhere, because then at least it should run if the boundaries are still off. So what's that about? I guess I haven't tried like a middle value, so let's see what my new map is. Oops, new map. So we've got new map. If I do new map 0, 0, it's fine. If I do 3, 3, is it fine? Yes. If I do 4, it hates it. If I do 1, 4, my problem is that I've got my rows and my columns mixed up. So for each Y, build up a row. I think I've messed up a bit. I've written a weird for loop here where it's counting the Y's first, and this should probably be the other way round, but I think that's going to cause similar issues really. But it'll probably work now. Yeah. B, 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 B. Well, that's sideways as well, so that's not good either. Yeah, so I've mixed up something I shouldn't have mixed up there, I think. Oh, my print is wrong. No, it doesn't look like my print's wrong. Okay, I'm going to leave it there because I have to do another live stream in about an hour, and I need to tweak my OBS settings to make sure things are looking okay. But yes, I guess thanks for watching. Apologies I messed up a little bit. I'll get it sorted for next week, hopefully. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye bye.